Music roll.
Next time you know, check the chip cord.
Recording in progress.
Okay. 24/11/2025 work session for the Gearhart City Council is called to order. We're going to discuss the results of our public safety building survey. Chad.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. As you see in front of you, we have the basic survey results just right out of SurveyMonkey. So this is not a staff report. This is a report that came right out of SurveyMonkey. We had 704 results, which is excellent for a community of this size. It's really good participation. What I thought we would do today is go over the survey line by line and just discuss the individual items that are on here and the scoring for the questions. We can also talk about, we received about 300 comments along with this as well. And we're still disseminating some of those, but I've got some of the themes for what those comments are for you that I used AI to help us through that, because 305 comments in one day is a little difficult to get through. So it gave me the general theme. What I'm looking for today is when you're going through this, our intention is to post this information as soon as possible. I want to see if there's any questions about the data or another way to look at the data prior to us submitting this online for people to see. Get your first interpretations of the data, any questions or any additional questions that you might have that Christy and I can go through and see if we can get the information for you when we're done. And then we would like to make all of this, including comments and all of that, public moving forward. And that's our intention to do probably tomorrow or early next week. I think the basic survey would be good to get out sooner than later. And then some of the other information that came along with it that still needs to be kind of put together a little bit can go out after that as well. And then the community can begin to understand what people think through this survey anyway. Any questions to start off with?
Yeah, these stats, were you able to weed out the repeat?
Not as much as we would want to. We heard online through Facebook, as many people did, that some people said that they maybe took this up to 30 times. I know there was 2 individuals that expressed how many times they took it, but maybe it was the way in which they did it or the way in which the software system was able to track. There really isn't any strong indication that there was anybody necessarily cheating the system. But we also found through this process that there's really not a way for the software to make a really solid determination because of different ways people's computers work. Some of this is off the IP addresses of a modem, and it may show 2 or 3 off of that, which is acceptable because we have multiple people in a house to be able to take those. But so far in our initial estimations, there is no indication that we could just find that somebody filled out, let's say 30 of these all in one. There is matches, but nothing substantial. And the way that people can do that is they go into their browser and they maybe use a different machine. They use a browser and then they get into it using something called an incognito window. And you can do that multiple times and it will change your address and things like that. So there's ways for people to get on there. But I see some similar comments out there that look like they may have been written by the same person a couple of times. The SurveyMonkey itself gave us, I think it was about a 4.5% error rate. And we may want to increase that a little bit to incorporate what some people have said online by taking 30 or so comments, shots at this. But I think that those people were probably fewer and farther between than what we thought they would be, and that the results are fairly accurate. Another nice thing about this is even though somebody could have taken 20 or 30 of these, we have 700 results, and that dilutes that down a little bit as well.
Well,
So there really isn't a perfect way for us to figure that out. We're
depends how
struggling
many
with that.
people did that.
How many? Well, I know two have mentioned it online that said one
Right,
person's.
so we don't know who else did that.
No, we don't.
Yeah.
We don't. There's really not the good information.
So do you think that we can make a general assumption that the strongly opposed categories may be weighted more than they actually are?
Potentially, but those strongly opposed categories were probably across the board. And I think you'll see that when you start going through this, that the strongly opposed were very strongly opposed, such as the park.
Right.
The park, definitely the least popular. And I think we all had a feeling that that might be the case when we were going through this process. But I really can't add any science to it yet. We're just getting into this. Today, we've been spending a lot of time with the data. Tomorrow, we're gonna look at some of those MAC addresses and I'll be able to report more on you. But right now, it doesn't look like there is a massive issue that we can ferret out using that system.
But do you see what I'm getting at? So people who took this multiple times, for the most part, belong to a group that we know are pretty opposed to most everything.
Yeah, and even I used AI to go through, I haven't had a chance to read all of the 300 comments, we've got all of those in there. We use AI for those comments, and it did notice that there was some themes that were in there that were generated from, there was a lot of themes about how Facebook and social media was giving a lot of bad information out there. People were frustrated with that. That's one of the themes that's in here. There's some comments that were very similar to the way that they used in vernacular as far as CM for city manager. I think we've seen that online a lot. That comment was in there a couple of times, and more than once for sure. But I think that with the amount of surveys that we got in, we're just gonna have to take that into consideration. But I think the results are pretty definitive in regards to what people are thinking across the board.
Hey Chad, can I chime in?
Yes, please.
So there are 375 responses to question 10. I just wanted to make sure everybody sees that on their paperwork. The totals on there. And then in regards to Counselor Sharon's question, so how do I put this? So Sharon, can you reiterate your concern one more time? You're wanting to see if you would be able to take the results and see what the duplicates are based on, or if you want to assume that people who were mostly strongly opposed were the duplicate takers. Is that what you were getting at?
Yes, the
Okay.
second.
So it appeared that online, the comments that were being made on social media, they were hinting at the fact that they were changing their responses substantially, all over the place. So on purpose. So you wouldn't see a theme in their answers. Does that make sense? So maybe one time they would rank it 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the next time 4, 3, 2, 1. They weren't just taking their opinion and doing it over and over and over again. They were changing what they were saying each time they were entering the survey.
their goal was not to give us a specific, if I'm hearing you right, what you're saying is their stated goal was not necessarily giving us driving us in a specific direction. It was more just proving that the survey could be overcome and that you could create chaos within the answers.
That is basically what's stated in the screenshots that were provided as correspondence at the last meeting.
That
Yes.
was my understanding also.
So I just wanted to remind you of those screenshots that you submitted. And so that might, I don't want to say it's going to ease your mind, but you know, I don't think you would have to worry that we would be able to see it one way or the other. It's just all over the place.
Well, with 700 responses, if I were to turn in 20 responses, that would be 2%. So I'd have to be awfully busy to really create a false direction for this. I mean, is there some element of that? Yeah. But I think if you look at the results as a whole, I don't know, I think maybe we should revisit this after we start digging in a little further and see what the results actually are.
Yeah, Christy and I are gonna go over the MAC addresses tomorrow and determine, you know.
IP, not Mac.
Yeah, excuse me, the IP address, not MAC address, the IP address.
Excuse me.
And and then if we come up with something, we'll also report on that during the city council meeting. But again, SurveyMonkey did, what was it, 4.5% as being the error. I think it would probably behoove us to maybe, you know, if we really wanted to be careful, double that, but still the results, I think, supersede that error calculation because they're fairly robust. In all the comments that were put in, 300 comments, it was a lot of work that people did to get the information to us that we wanted. So I'm just going to assume that not everybody tried to mess with the survey, that it was just a select few. And we're just going to have to increase the error factor a little bit, but I think the results will still stand on their own based on what we have here tonight. I'll put some science to it tomorrow when we get a chance, but I don't think it's going to change.
Did you want to talk about the analysis, the AI analysis of the comments, or is that something you're going to get us later?
That's something we're going to get a little bit later, although I did take a spreadsheet with all of the comments and put it through ChatGPT to get themes and the summaries.
Yeah.
And I can tell you about that.
Yeah. Tonight
as well. But I figured we'd go over this first, then I'll go over that. And then when it comes down to submitting all this information for the public, I think we should just give them everything we've got.
Yeah.
And let the community decide, let the city council sit with this a little bit. We'll make another report on this information for the city council meeting here next week. And between now and then, if there's more information that the city council would like us to look up or some comparisons you'd like us to make, we'll do our best to do that. Okay.
All right, let's go on.
Okay. So question one, what is your name optional? So we received actually a lot of names, but the report didn't spit those out for us. So I'm not sure what the 0% on the responses is. We did receive quite a few names. It was answered 416 times, skipped 288, but we didn't want to list out all the names of people.
And can we clarify again? I had some people contact me and say, oh snap, I didn't mean to put my name on there afterwards. I thought maybe I shouldn't have put my name on there. And they're worried that their names are going to be released if we release information. We've already agreed that we're not releasing the names of the people who.
I have no desire to release the names
Okay.
of people, no, and, but the comments, some of them may have some names in there. I know some of the comments were very negative and some of them were going after staff, not just me, talking about people. I mean, they're not very nice comments. They're quite ugly. But I don't think that taking them out is going to do anything, or even redacting unless there's some personal information on there, which I don't get. But I think you just leave it all in there, but there may be some names in that information.
No, if people want to get on there and say vile things, it's not our job to shield them from people seeing exactly who they are and what kinds of things they say.
Most people were very just open and honest and matter of fact.
I mean, Facebook is a big deal now. And people that post anonymously, it's always been they're cowards. If you want to say something negative about somebody, put your name on it. Otherwise, stay the hell off the press.
Yeah, from the beginning, we did say that we weren't going to necessarily share any of the names.
No.
That was our intent.
That was the reason why it was off.
But there's some people were hopeful, they did put their names in and are hoping that we don't share that information.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's that important at the moment. We have the data.
But, I mean, people that are negative about things, if they feel that strongly, need to put their name on it.
Well, that's why we have here in city council meetings and all of that, if it's a comment that comes without who is giving the comment, we don't bring it to the council.
I want to clarify, just so I'm clear, I don't want to release the names. But I have no problem if somebody wrote something really truly vile, put it out there and let people see what people are really seeing. Saying how, what you folks here at the city have to put up with and see. There's no reason we should protect these people from themselves. If they want to say that stuff, let people see it, shine a light on it.
Okay. I may meet with you on an individual basis and show you some of that information, and you can make that decision probably at the next city council.
That'd be good.
Okay, so I'll make an appointment with you folks and spend some time with you either on the phone or in person.
My view of that is primarily just if we, a council member or staff, wanted to get back to that person. That to me is more the reason why you might ask for a name. Or in the case of perhaps there are people who are wanting to help because we are going to have a campaign down the road. And if you could have looked at, these people were very positive. I understand there's not a lot of positivity in this, but you might want to contact them at some point, not you personally.
And one other thing, if there's any staff member that was attacked in this, we do have a duty to protect them from abusive behavior. And so if any staff member does not want anything said about them shared, then we'll have to redact it because we have a duty to protect our staff. From hostile work environment situations, which this could easily spill into.
Other issues. All right. Question 2, are you currently a registered voter in the city of Gearhart? And that leads over to the next page. So Ms. Lyon, you were asking earlier as to voters' responses versus non-voters' responses. We ran a preliminary check on what just the voters said versus what the non-voters said. And it matches almost completely. 100%. Voters and non-voters felt the same percentages in scenario or choice 1, 2, 3, and 4. They were across the board, almost exact. Am I right in that, Christy?
Sorry, I'm
Yeah.
multitasking. You have the numbers there. I gave you one of those, didn't you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and they were equal, maybe a percentage or two difference, but it really wasn't. Voter option D, strong observation. Let's see here, how did she do this? Christy, how did this work out? I need some
I would just look at the graph on page 2.
The graph.
They're just
Oh,
like
right
the
there.
Survey Monkey graphs. Yeah.
So, voters, strong opposition for option D. It's 37.9%. Option D for owners was 30.99%. Option D for voter owner options, 37.32%. So very close. Not even big enough to, I don't think that there's any information that would show that the voters and the non-voters think differently.
The Mercedes parked outside has a lot to do.
Just parking light, thank you very much.
So they were very similar. And that's something that we can clean this up. This is something we just did this afternoon, just prior to the meeting, to get this information. So we haven't had a chance to verify it, but I believe it's correct. In that the rankings are similar across the board. Question 3, are you a property owner in Gearhart? Yes, 94%, 95%, round up 94.89, and no is 5.11%. Then we start getting into the different options. Next page, question 4, how do you feel about option A, the current downtown project? This is the $35 million project. Strongly supports 9%, 8.95. Somewhat support, 14.77. Neutral, 11.65. Somewhat oppose, 15.63. And strongly oppose the downtown project, 49.01%. Any questions about that? Question 5, how do you feel about this option B, remodel the existing downtown facilities? Results are on the next page. Strongly supports 25.85%. Somewhat support 25.71. Neutral 11.93. Somewhat oppose 14.2. Strongly oppose 22.3. Question 6, how do we feel about Dune Meadows Park? Next one, pretty definitive. Strongly support 10.37%. Somewhat support 11.8%. Neutral 6.25. Somewhat oppose 11.51. Strongly oppose 60.80%. Highland site. This one was interesting. Strongly support 21.59%. Somewhat support 21.59. Neutral 14.06. Somewhat opposed 11.36. And strongly opposed 31.39%. So those were the 4 choices that folks had. Question 8, rank the 4 options in order of your preference. 1 is most preferred, 4 is least preferred. So this came out pretty interesting. So on the report, if you look under the number 1 column, that's the percentage of people that chose that as their the one that they would support the most. So current downtown project, which is a new public safety building, fire police and public works building, and rebuild city hall. That 14.35% chose that as their number one. B, remodel the existing downtown facilities, remodel fire station, city hall, police department, and new public works building. That score came out at 49.29%. Dune Meadows Park, which is the issue that we tried, the number one choice was 9.09%. Excuse me, Dune Meadows Park is less than Miller. I jumped ahead. Dune Meadows Park was only 9.09% of people who chose that as their first choice. And the Highlands site was 27.27%. So in that, looking at the scores that are afterward, but just looking at the first choice, that would mean remodel was most popular. Highlands site was second most popular. The downtown project was number 3, and the Dune Meadows State Park was number 4. Question 9, what factors matter most to you in choosing the option? What matters most to people was cost of project at 35.94%. Safety and elevation, tsunami and disaster resilience was at 18.89%. Longevity and future adaptability, 12.78%. Preserving the fire station's traditional downtown location was at 15.48%. And then other is where people could comment. There was 16.9% of the people chose other and commented. And then if you look at that little bar graph that's down below, that's green, yellow, red, and gray, the comments, and this is just SurveyMonkey using AI, were positive being 15%, neutral 48%, negative 34%, and undetected 3%. That was the mood of the comment.
That's the 300 comments or
Just the
just
119,
119?
just the 119 other responses. And we are able to list those out, so we'll be able to get that to you,
Okay.
what those 119 comments were. Plus, we'll be able to get the other 300 and some comments that came up from other parts of the survey. Yeah, it shows 375 people answered that please share any additional thoughts, concerns, or suggestions you'd like the city to consider to council. And we didn't do any AI on that other than I have a summary of the comment themes that I wanted to go over with you. And then that's just the bar graphs based on location considerations. This, I believe, has to do with the comments. They have, I'm having a hard time interpreting these bar graphs here, but it's location and considerations, 24% of the people were mentioning that out of the 109 comments. This is still 109. Project cost concerns, community engagement, and facility renovation and access.
So Chad, what that is at the bottom of the page where it lists question 10, there's a little section that shows you how many responses there were, and it says thematic analysis. So there, again, you see the percentages and the colors that kind of represent the theme of their responses. However, it goes a step farther in this case where it'll actually break down keywords and themes by well, like by topic, basically. And then it applies the positive and negative on top of the topic. So that's what those additional things are. I'm sorry they print that way, but it's just a slider bar, and I can't get it to do anything else.
So question 10, please share any additional thoughts, concerns, or suggestions you'd like the city council to consider. Positive 9%, neutral 23%, negative 67%, and undetected was 1%. And then what you're saying is that these bar graphs are the themes of those comments, Christie?
Yes, those are the keywords that it pulls out or the key topics.
Okay, and those key topics were location considerations at 24% of the comments, project cost concerns at 21%, community engagement opposition at 12%, facility renovation access 9%, tsunami and earthquake risks 9%, public safety infrastructure 7%, city government criticism 6%. And survey methodology concerns 4%. Project timing concerns at 4%. And shared services evaluation 4%. So that's the basic data. Non-interpreted, other than the two places where SurveyMonkey already attempted to give us a thematic result. The summary of the comment themes, number one was cost and affordability. The tone of these comments suggests strong sensitivity to project cost, preference for practical lower cost approaches, and skepticism towards large scale or ambitious capital projects. The second one was park site opposition. Comments, key voices, loss of parkland and green space was key. Fear of setting a precedent for development within parks. Emotional attachment to the existing park and its environment. And the desire to preserve public space for recreation and community use. And in that, the opposition was not subtle. The tone was strong and consistent. And mirrored the numeric results, where 72% opposed the park option and over 60% strongly opposed it. So it was pretty big. The third main area for comments was trust, transparency, and process concerns. A noticeable number of comments reflect questions about whether prior survey efforts in 21 and 22 were handled well, whether decisions are being made before the community input is fully evaluated, is the second most popular comment there. Confusion about elements of the project, whether City Hall is included. And then the last part on trust, transparency, and process concerns was misinformation circulating on social media. And again, this was just use AI to go through the 300 comments and give us that information. Many residents expressed appreciation for being asked for input. These comments indicate the importance of continuing clear, consistent communication. Number 4 was downtown rebuild skepticism. Primary themes were concerns about building in a tsunami zone, worries about cost, questions about whether the rebuild solves long-term needs, and confusion created by misinformation online. Number 5 was support for the downtown remodel option. We have the 5th most comments. Comments supporting the remodel emphasize lower cost, reduced disruption, and perception of being a reasonable, balanced approach. Some residents question whether or not the remodel would adequately meet future operational safety and seismic needs, but overall, this was the least contentious option in the comments and had the most even-tempered feedback. This supports the position in the highest ranked, most supported option in the survey. Number 6 was mixed feedback on the Highlands Lane site. Comments reflected interest in a tsunami-safe location. Concerns about response times, distance, and access came up as number 2. Questions about whether moving services away from the center of town being appropriate. Opposition here was more measured rather than emotional, suggesting the option remains viable if remodel challenges emerge. So says AI. Number 7 was influence of misinformation. A notable portion of the comments referenced misunderstandings or incorrect information, much of it originating from social media. Examples included misconceptions about City Hall being combined with projects, the survey methodology, and the city's intent or decision-making process. So according to all the comments, the overall assessment, and this is just a cursory beginning, I would prefer you folks to go through these. But the overall assessment using AI was the downtown remodel option had the strongest community support. Residents view it as cost effective, reasonable, and minimally disruptive. Highlands Lane site is the only alternative with meaningful public openness. Concerns are practical and may be addressed through design and communication. Park site, June Meadows, Leslie Miller, is not publicly viable, is what it says. Opposition is overwhelming, emotional, and firmly held. The downtown rebuild concept, as previously developed, faces significant public opposition. Its cost and location in the Sun Zone remain major concerns. So that's the data we have so far.
So the comment under the remodel of minimally disruptive indicates to me that people don't understand that it's gonna be hugely disruptive.
I think that was in comparison. I mean, I'm just going off of what some of the comments were. It would be less disruptive than taking over the park. Less disruptive to maybe the residents, not necessarily the city staff.
Okay, so not necessarily city operations.
Yeah, but I can't definitively say that, but that's just kind of what the comments feel like.
Anyone else have any comments on this?
Well, it seems just from this cursory look that there's potentially two viable options based on the survey. Would we ever put two options on a ballot? Is that doable?
I know the mayor was asking those questions some year, maybe a couple of years ago about that very thing.
Isn't that what Camden Beach did with the restaurant tax to pay for their public safety building?
Yeah, they
Or
did
one was a
something.
referendum and one was a
Advisory vote. Yeah, and if we went, I think that I'd have to learn more about that. We'll look into it. I'll talk to Chad Jacobs and Barry Wilson Hammond about it. I'm not sure that we can do an outright vote, binding vote, or if it would be considered an advisory vote, and then we'd have to go for another vote afterwards. But I'll look into that. That's a good question.
Yeah, great to hear an answer at council.
Anyone else with a comment? Question?
I think if the citizens of Gearhart want to do public safety building, I think it's gonna be a long, hard slog. And at the
It
end of
already
it,
is.
and at the end of it, these guys over there are gonna get pissed off. They're all gonna resign.
Okay.
I mean, I know what it's like to be a volunteer in the fire department. And those guys are only gonna take so much negativity before they throw in the towel.
And that's what we deserve.
Exactly right, and if something else doesn't happen, okay, OSHA's gonna come beating down our throat. And so is the fire marshal, and so is the police bureau. And then we're gonna be paying fines instead of taking that money that can be used towards something positive to do here.
You're preaching to the choir here.
Well, I realize that.
Well, he wants to just say it out loud.
I'm Preston, I've had some conversations with the fire department and some other people about this, and I think that there's gonna be a point to where we're gonna wanna hear from our fire department association president, the person that the firefighters have voted in as being the person to help handle the business. they've really been trying to stay out of this because the last time they got involved, it was very difficult on them and they were attacked in a lot of ways and they decided they didn't want to do that. I think that the citizens' vote is not so much as a concern of the fire department, as long as we can get some of the safe, like, if the community decided to go with the remodel, and it's not the new fire station, I think our firefighters will be okay with that, as long as they get some things to help make it safer for them to do their job. A little bit more office space, a shower, another bathroom, make it so that the building won't quite crumble, do some things to make it a little bit better. They will probably be able to work with that. That's not so much. One of the big thing that's happening that's got them mostly concerned are the Facebook comments. People out making these comments about these people that are out there saving people's lives and trying to help out, doing things that the public really doesn't have an understanding of how many, I hate to say this just out loud, but how many bodies they deal with on a monthly basis. How many things they do to help protect our community. And yet you have some online that are just wanting to beat them up. I think that they're okay with what you, the council, they feel that you, the council, has their best interest in mind. They're more worried about what's going on out there in the Facebook side of things. And the lack, if somebody made a mention to me, goes, this is the first time I've ever come to a community where people like the police department more than they like the fire department.
Well, I'm telling you, it's insane.
God love the police department, and I understand how
For 30 years
that
of my career,
happens.
I told my children, no, you don't want to be a cop when you grow up, you want to be a firefighter. I have never seen this. This is insanity at its best.
And there really is just a few characters online that are beating that drum, that our volunteers are not good enough. And, I'm not on the association. I think that having the association president more involved in helping you folks move forward and have them maybe collect some information from the firefighters and you can discuss it with them about that. But that's really my feeling, being a part of that fire department and watching what they do. I don't do nearly as much as I used to. I step back. I've had to, just this job is a little busier than I'd like to be sometimes. But they're a strong group of people that are out there trying to do their best. And if the negative online comments about them could quiet down a little bit, I think you would have a much more secure future. But if the community continues to turn on the firefighters, there could be a day where you end up, and it wouldn't be the first time, to where here's our boots. Go ahead and make your decisions. And so a lot of the comments that are in here are people talking about moving on and having another city or another entity take care of our public safety. And for what, I'm not sure. It seems like people keep talking about it like it's going to save money. Just a few dollar and cents things here. What is it? The city, you've looked into this, the city of Seaside is charging every individual, every resident taxpayer in Seaside.
Every assessed $1,000. Just the fire department alone. Forget about the police department. $2.25.
Per
Okay.
thousand.
These people here pay 18 cents
Your earnings.
for the fire department.
That's not even considering that they have 5,000 voters, we have 1,800 voters. They vote yes for everything that they're ever asked for, and our voters vote no. So everybody who thinks that that would be a good idea needs to think about whether that's really a good fit, because you will be outvoted on everything you care about. That's number two. Number three is, I just sat 2 weeks ago in a meeting with 3 or 4 members of their council down there. And when I mentioned that we still have folks that thought that we should join up with them, they laughed at us and they said they are not interested at all. And then I talked to Joey when he gave me a little tour of his thing down there, and he said they can't do what they do, or they can't meet all of their needs without Gearhart being a part of that component, that we help them and they help us the same way.
Mutual aid agreement.
Same way all across this county, everybody relies on everybody to step up and do their part. And this city is insane. It has not made an investment and now it wants to complain about the time to make an investment has come, and push has come to shove, and they all of a sudden it's a huge investment. Well, yes, that's what happens when you don't do your routine maintenance. And now we're talking about maybe having to do a remodel because it's gonna cost a lot. And I'm telling you right now, that's like plugging a nail hole in a bald tire. We are gonna spend this money, and then in 10 years, what we have over there is not going to meet the needs that we have in 10 to 15 years, and we're gonna have to spend more money. And in the meantime, we're gonna spend more on that. It's just a big waste of money. But anyway, I know I'm gonna get my.
Most people in Gearhart understand the value of our volunteers. I really believe that. I think most do. And they are interested in keeping our volunteers, and they're thankful. I can't tell you, every week we get a new sheet of cookies. I mean, that's all the payment that we really need. Occasionally it's good cookies, and we've been enjoying that. There's a lady called the Cookie Lady who comes in every Wednesday night. I think that the community is general. It's that people are listening to a minority that happen to control the narrative through social media. And that's harmful, but it also came out in the survey. People see that. People are understanding that a lot of that information that might be being disseminated might not be truthful. And I think it's starting to wear thin on some folks. But that being said, 700 and some surveys is pretty good. I'm happy with that, even though it could be, well, I don't know, 500 surveys if you consider all the people that took the extra on there, such as the 2 that admitted to it online and Facebook. But all in all, I think we've got some good information here to work forward with. And let me know if you would like this presented in any other way. We're gonna put this together in a packet that will go out to the public as soon as possible. We're shooting for tomorrow to get the basic information out. And then as we hear more from you, then we'll start parsing that information through. We want you to be able to make the best decision you can based on the information that we have.
So I'm just curious, are there fire departments in the United States who do pay to play?
Charge for all sorts of things. I'm not sure about that, but what I have seen is there's departments in, especially the East, that when there's mutual aid, yet they don't have the appropriate agreements in place, fire departments will not help out other fire departments.
No, I'm talking about that specific to fire department to the residents of the city.
It may exist, but I'm not sure.
But that's part of what Andy put together, was like a charge.
Well, yeah, so that gave us the concept, the ability to, when, car accidents and things like that, as insurance gets charged, then we go in on that. And the insurance helps pay for the city of Gearhart. But I haven't heard of full departments charging for every call that they're out on. It's just known that that is something that a community needs to pay for in taxes in order to provide it. Well, most communities, they need to pay for the fire service. And again, what you were saying, Seaside is doing that at near $2 or a little bit over $2 per thousand. Gearhart's doing it at 17 cents per thousand. We've been too efficient over the years. We have not kept up with our critical infrastructure, although not for the lack of trying. 2007, the entire fire department and a new city hall was just under $4 million. And the community voted no, it was too big and too much for Gearhart at that time.
But you gotta remember that the water bond.
And water bond just, yeah, so
It's bad timing.
yeah, it was bad timing as well. And here we are again, on all the news cycles that I've been reading and what's going on in Portland and new gas taxes and wealth taxes and all these other things. People are tired about hearing it. And here we are in the same scenario after COVID, seeing our expenses grow by 50 to 100% in some things, but 50% across the board. We were able to absorb most of that, but as all of you know, it's getting really tight here in Gearhart. We haven't asked for any real fee increases or tax increases. The city of Gearhart is $1.015 per thousand, and that's based on assessed value. The city of Astoria is at $8 per thousand, based on assessed value. There were some comments about how Gearhart was taxing people to death. But there's a few of those comments in there, and that's disconnected because we're one of the lowest taxing districts in Oregon. But that's the feeling that people have, is that they just don't want to pay for anything right now. And how are we going to continue to provide the service that we do? I think yesterday we just went over 800 calls for the year. We still have a couple of months left. So this will be another record call.
This is,
For us. It's, when I joined, it was 150 calls a year, back in 1997. So there's a disconnect, and the communication is an issue. And this little town, we try to communicate the best that we can, but we're losing that war. We're losing that competition. Facebook is very powerful, and there's some people that are on that are creating some problems, but I think that you're just gonna have to keep pushing forward.
Okay, anyone else with anything? Because this was just to disseminate this information to it. And I feel like we can call it an evening and move along, little doggy, move along.
I'll reach out to all of you, have another discussion individually, and then we'll get ready to present this information to the public. After, I'll talk to you probably tomorrow if you're all available.
Okay,
Cedar in the afternoon.
Okay.
More concrete and more.
adjourn.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Recording stop.